Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's webinar on reimagining employee experience, the AI and tech revolution in recognition and well-being, brought to you by ETHRWorld in association with AdvantageClub.ai. I'm Yasmin Dag, editor for ETHRWorld, and I'm delighted to be a moderator for this session. So, as workplaces continue to evolve, we know that employee recognition and well being are no longer just nice to haves. They are central to building thriving, engaged, and high performing organizations. What's truly exciting is how AI and technology are reshaping this space, enabling more personalized, impactful, and scalable approaches to recognition and wellness than ever before. Today, we will unpack how leaders are harnessing these innovations to drive employee engagement, foster healthier behaviors, and also build workplaces that people truly love to be a part of. And before we dive into the conversation, let me introduce our esteemed panel of speakers who bring with them incredible expertise and diverse perspectives. I'd like to invite first up on my screen Rommel Regino, who's Vice President and COO for Inspiro. Hi, Rommel. Thank you so much for joining us today. Second up, I'd like to invite Abbie L. Abbott, who's Head of HR and Corporate Affairs for CR Partners. Hi, Abbie. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Same here. And now I'd like to invite Meenu Gupta, who's Group HR Manager for Global Hira Industries LLC. Hi, Meenu. Thank you so much for joining us. And finally, I'd like to invite Smiti Deorah, who's co-founder and CEO for AdvantageClub.ai. Hi, Smiti. Thank you for joining us. Great.
Yeah.
I think I have a very interesting panel sitting here and looking forward to hearing your thoughts on how differently or how uniquely are you using technology today for innovation while you're also measuring the impact, impacting your business, making the right decisions, and overall building a very inclusive workplace. Before we do that now, before I jump into the questions for each one of you, I'd like each one of you to reintroduce yourselves to our audience members, maybe a few lines about what you do, but also something interesting about what makes you so excited about this space. So, Romel, since you're the only gentleman on my panel, I'd like to start with you first.
Thank you, and good afternoon again, everyone. So my name is Rommel Regino, and I oversee operations and people operations, which is the human part of the organization, and including site delivery. Anything that involves or revolves around people experience, both from servicing clients and internal customers are reports up to me. Um, I think I'm very excited to be in this panel to also learn and not just share on how the world is transforming in the advent of these new technologies that could we could now leverage much more efficiently.
Exciting.
One interesting thing is that probably my discipline is not from service. I actually came from manufacturing, but I'm been in this service space for more than 3 decades now, and I just realized that the similarity between a manufacturing space and a service space are actually very much closer than what we actually envisioned of. So that's
Interesting.
one probably important discovery I have in the course of my career.
Lovely. Would love to hear more about this while we go through our conversation, Romel. Thank you so much. Abby, let me come to you now. Please do introduce yourself and tell us something interesting.
Okay. So hello, and once again, thank you for inviting me. I'd say good morning or good afternoon, whichever part of the world everyone is joining us from. I lead the people function, the corporate services, and the commercial services team here in SIA in the Middle East. SIA is a management consulting firm that is what we call is a next generation consulting firm. So we leverage what we know about traditional strategy and management consulting with emerging tech. We also develop our own proprietary AI products. It's one of our capabilities.
Nice.
So something interesting and what I am very excited about is this topic of AI. And I think I'll be very generic because AI I find augments the work that we do, and then because the operational tasks are no longer are no longer an issue or will no longer be an issue, there's more value to the service of the people, right? So I can see this,
Yes.
for example, in my recruitment process, in the HR operational processes as well, and it significantly improves not only the value offering for the client that we serve, which is the internal employees, but also for my team as well, because it makes their lives
Yes.
easy. You know.
Easier.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. I think, yes, AI is a collaborator and a coach for us rather than us fearing that will take away jobs. It's actually helping us become better. So thanks for sharing that, Abbie. Coming to you, Meenu, let's know more about you today.
Yeah, hi. First of all, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining me. Thank you for inviting me here to discuss something, I should say, very interesting and valuable topic right now. So, my name is Meenu. I lead the HR department here. I head the HR department for Hira Industries in the Middle East and across all the locations. So, Hira Industry is a manufacturing company where we do develop the industrial materials and the products, and we supply biggest manufacturing, I can say, for this type of products here. And yes, this topic, why I am here, this topic interests me a lot because I am a people person. I see daily how people are struggling for, better productivity, how HR are trying their hard, be it as engagement activities or sentiment analysis or retention rate, they are trying to keep it improved, right? So for all these things, a lot of manpower hours go, and we have to actually see the Excel sheet, spreadsheet, and a lot more, to bring out some result out of that. So AI is
Yeah,
something where we actually can help people, do our work faster and increase the productivity. So
absolutely.
it's
Yes.
always this topic wherever the technology comes, being an engineer and then turned out to be a people person, I always try to leverage this technology so that we can create always the better experience for our people. And in our
Totally.
organization, it's very much, supported by our leaders that whatever it takes to be on the top of, use of technology and the people experience, we do implement it.
Great. Thanks. Thanks for sharing that, Meenu, again. So some very forward-looking organizations I can see already in the panel. Smiti, your thoughts, your introduction. Would love to close it with your thoughts now.
Sure, thanks, Yasmin, and thank you everyone for joining us. I see a lot of people who are attending this today, almost
Yeah.
touching 200. So
Yes.
really excited to be here. And just by way of introduction, my name is Smiti. I'm one of the co-founders and I'm the COO of AdvantageClub.ai. AdvantageClub.ai is an AI-powered employee experience platform focused on rewards recognition, employee well-being, and general engagement programs like surveys, health and wellness, etc. So naturally, this topic is very close to my heart, and one of the things I'm most excited about is to hear from the wonderful panelists we have here today what they think about the evolvement of technology when it comes to employee experience around recognition and well-being. And we're actually, one interesting thing about us is we're pioneers in agentic AI and rewards and recognition across the world. So happy
Right.
to also maybe talk more about what people think in terms of AI amalgamation with the recognition and how we've made strides as well in trying to do our bit to get on the agentic wagon like most of the tech companies are doing.
Exactly. Thanks, Smiti. Thanks for that introduction and telling us how AdvantageClub.ai is doing a great job in bringing together the human aspect of recognition and blending it with technology so that you can reach far and wide because it's a lot about scale, it's a lot about value. And if technology can help you do that, why not? So thanks for sharing that. So, well, on that note, I'm excited to start this discussion. And as we know that we are going to discuss how recognition has evolved through these years, how technology has come into the picture, and AI specifically is now changing the game. So, Roman, let's start with you. Let's and I'd encourage our speakers to you can build on each other's insights. And towards the end, we will also leave time for audience question and answers. So please keep your questions coming in the Q&A box that you can see at the bottom of your Zoom chat, Zoom window. So do type in your questions there, and we'll try to take as many questions as possible towards the end. All right, then let's get started. Roman, I'm going to talk a little bit with you about personalization and impact both. So, how can organizations leverage AI and technology to create more personalized and impactful and valuable recognition and well-being experiences for their employees? And how's your organization helping that?
Sure. So I think the operating word is personalization.
Mm,
When you have here in Inspiro, which I am part of, which is one of the leading BPO providers, that's a global player. Um,
mm,
in the past, personalization has been quite sort of hit or miss. And one of the
mm,
things that the advent of these AI or the accelerators, as we call it, have really helped us is really zoom into exactly what the needs of the of of our of our employees. We recognize that there are varying generations, and
mm,
we have this what we call happiness meter in our organization. And in the past, we usually approach this based on an aggregate score, simply because we don't have the engine that help us further um, dissect or bifurcate what are the things that are relevant to each of the age generation. And that was really one powerful thing that has helped us in terms of using AI, specifically because engagement to us is a retention metric. And
yeah.
uh, and the more we retain, the better it is for us from a business standpoint. So yeah, when we
Mm,
speak of AI, it allows us now to really be a little bit more um, uh, detailed and be very, very targeted in the interventions that we put in
mm,
across the enterprise. It's not a cookie cutter approach anymore,
mm,
simply because we're just looking at one aggregate number. We're
mm,
now able to see what the needs of each location, from the age generation, including the industries that they are part of. So it has
mm.
become a little bit more customized and very more personalized
Yes.
to your point from an intervention perspective.
Yeah, and I liked your point, Romel, when you said that earlier personalization was like a hit and miss. You really didn't know whether it's worked that well for you or not. But now AI can help you get those data, those insights, bifurcate your information further, and then redo and rework on the feedback you received, right? So I think that's a great point about how you can use AI to build more personalized, more impactful engagement and recognition and well-being experiences. So thanks for sharing that. Let's come down to the core of recognition systems, Nan and Abbie. Let me ask you, with your experience at SIA Middle East, what are the essential components of a rewards and recognition system, and how do they contribute to long-term engagement in organizations?
So, well, one of the key points I think the operative word of the day is personalization, right? So first and
Yes.
foremost, it's important that in the rewards and recognition system, particularly the reward system, that the employee is heard, right? So this is particularly interesting for them. The benefits and the rewards that they will be given are also relevant to what they need. In my experience, before talking about, we can't really segregate the topic of rewards and recognition without talking about performance management. And I
True.
believe that the employee engagement delves into the performance management, and then it then boils down to the reward system. So let me explain.
Mm,
Um, First and foremost, the employee, I believe AI systems is a powerful tool to help personalize learning and development, right? And then this can seep into the rewards and recognition system. And then, of course, hopefully with the growth and the development that this employee is experiencing, we they know that there will be a long-term, that they will be happy to stay in a company for a long time. A key factor as well in rewards and recognition system, I would say, is obviously the alignment with our strategic values and our values, strategic objectives, and the values of the company in itself. So we need to be able to tag the how shall I say this, the KPIs against the values of the company, so that obviously both ends of the both sides are happy, right? So the employee is happy, and the company is achieving its objectives as well. And last but not least is obviously it has to be timely, right? So we have rewards systems whereby it's annual, for example, which is typically what you will see after an annual evaluation, for example. But it doesn't stop the project managers, for example, where we operate on a project basis, from giving small reward points, to their employees as well, in order for them to use for their own benefit. Like even small token of appreciation is important, and of course, peer-to-peer recognition as well is quite important.
Yeah, so while you do the annual, recognition, regular feedback, regular recognition, pats on the backs, and using technology for those little things, I think that also makes a lot of difference to organizations and the culture that they're building overall. So thanks for sharing that, Abbie. And also the point that, yes, firstly, they have to be linked to your performance management. It has to be linked to your values, and it has to be very timely. Three very critical components of building your rewards and recognition overall strategy. I think this really, really works. Any thoughts from our panelists here around what else do we need when it comes to building that framework for your rewards and recognition? Meenu, I can see you unmuted yourself, so maybe you want to add something.
What Abbie has said is absolutely right, because what we have seen that most of the time reward and recognition is a one-time activity, or let's say two-time activity. So it's very, very important that we should have a culture where we are recognizing people or awarding people continuously. So be it sentiment analysis or proper reward structure or management, so that people should not think, okay, we have to do this exercise in these months and we will be scoring high and we can get our reward and recognition. It should be inculcated in the culture of the organization, so that people are continuously practicing how the culture of the company is, or how they want to show up themselves. It should be measured also continuously, because monitoring is also very important. If we are not measuring something, we cannot control anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Great points. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that, Meenu. Meenu, since we're already talking about this, I would like you to add and talk about how habit building in well-being also becomes very, very, very crucial today, because building sustainable, healthy behaviors is a challenge mostly. So how can organizations incorporate habit building strategies into their well-being programs?
Oh, perfect. So I will like to continue my answer, which I have said. So I think first and foremost is that we have to build it into the organization culture. So usually leaders are the role models. What I can see in my organizations, that they do talk to the people about health and well-being. Whenever we are discussing in meetings or leadership meetings, they do talk about people well-being, so that all the leaders, senior leaders, are also aware that it is a priority for us, right? But that is a small action they are taking daily, not in a timely interval, but daily we talk about it. And also what we have done in our medical insurances and all the well practices, we have made it regular. So every quarter we make sure that we are conducting something wellness initiatives or workshops, or even the webinars for all the employees, so that they can learn something. Because most of the time what happens, like, if you do not know what to do, you never can do that. So sometimes you just need a little knowledge about something, and then this happens, so they start doing it. So this is the result. We can see that whatever are the wellness activities or webinars or seminars we are doing, people are now taking knowledge. And our successes, if even I know that not 100% can be taken out of any webinars, but even if they are taking 10%, and they are implementing 5%, it's a win for us. Because in the
Yeah.
second time, they are more aware, more conscious about all these things. So this is one thing. And second thing is the gamification, like performance management and anything should be having some gamification, because most of the Gen Z will be entering into the workforce now. And they are not like us millennials or the previous generation. They want more fun. They have better access for anything they want. They have rightly in their hands. So it's very important to keep them engaged in their own way. So organizations, they have to change their engagement activities or wellness practices or everything engagement activities, so that people are more engaged. So these are the things which we can immediately do, make the micro habits, I would say. It's not a one-time activity or one-time wellness program that
Yeah.
will to the. It's a continuous process. Or if you want to do it in a way that you can design your reward and recognition system in that way. If you complete these activities, or you are available or you are allowed to take these rewards. So all these things can be done, but in a continuous manner. My point is, continuation is very important. It's not one or two times in a year and you can build this culture or sustainable habit. It's a habit, and habits should be done on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, agree. That's a great point. Thank you so much. I think it's about consistency and it's about your leadership walking the talk at the same time, because they are the ones who set the culture. The culture cascades down to them. So if they are doing this, they are focusing on well-being, they're talking about it again and again. That kind of reinforcement really, really works. So thank you for sharing. But again, one question, I think I can see some very interesting questions already coming up from my audience members. And one of them is about participation. I think that's a big challenge, that you do create a lot of initiatives, right? But how do you encourage more participation? So that's a question I think Shivatsa has asked. This is a question that Savita has asked. So Meenu, would you like to take up with that, or somebody else would like to answer that? While you create a lot of these programs, how do you increase participation from your people?
yeah, so participation, as I mentioned somehow, that we should know what people want. Like I
Mm.
just talked about Gen Z. You should there are not Gen Zs only working in organizations, right? There are other people.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own priority, right?
Mm.
Someone want promotion, someone want more good designation, someone want better flexibility, someone wants work
Mm.
from home. There are different people, different opinions.
Mm.
So
Mm.
with the use of technology, if we know what a person want with the help of, it's not a one person job. It's a combination of all the people and all the factors, right? So if we regularly sitting with leaders, asking what does the person want in your team, so we can somehow uh, get to know what is the priority of the people. So accordingly, we can design the report. So rewards is not like, again, the fixed program. Okay, this you are getting.
Yeah.
You always have to customize the reward and recognition also. That is the key.
Mm.
Because one thing can excite me, cannot excite other person.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
moment
Agree.
you are customizing, you can always expect the better participation and the
So
value generation. What is the value out of this program people are getting? So you have
yeah,
to communicate in a way that yes, this is for you. This is what you can get it from
definitely.
this program. So like this, I think I have seen that people are more engaged and participating in any other activities which we are doing.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Meenu. There are a few more questions that I'll come back to later, because I'd now like to kind of tie this into what I wanted to ask you, Smiti. And it was about adoption and challenges. And of course, one challenge we already discussed was about the adoption or the encouragement of participation for the people in your organization. So, from your vantage point at AdvantageClub.ai, what are some common challenges that organizations are facing today when implementing AI-enabled R&R and wellness initiatives? And how can we increase adoption or enhance it across diverse groups?
Right. So, like Meenu said, Yasmin, adoption is definitely a challenge when it comes to, designing or running any type of programs related to recognition. And just to add to Meenu's point, like she mentioned that, first you need to understand, why we are doing what
Yeah.
we're doing, who really is actually getting a benefit out of it, and if there is no benefit out of it, then obviously participation is going to be way low. But if there is a benefit, and if we know what people want, and we are creating a drive or a session or any event related to that, I think it is also important to not just communicate, but over communicate, because a lot of times
I agree.
people don't participate simply because they aren't aware, or they didn't remember, or there was some crazy project deadline or something broke and everyone was busy in it. So
Yeah.
the most important thing here is to identify what is that channel, or what is that place where most employees are actually going every day. Is it your recognition provider? Is it Teams? Is it Slack? Is it Outlook? Just bring that communication to the place where everybody is going. And for every organization, there might be a different answer to what is being used the most in your company.
Mm.
So that also eventually helps drive better participation, and therefore adoption. And talking about, where people are going, I think one challenge is also that today there are so many apps in every organization. There are so many tools which companies are running, and these tools, they don't talk to one another. So you might
Mm.
be having a separate comms tool, you might be having a separate recognition tool, a separate
Yeah.
HRM tool, a separate CRM, a separate ERP, and something else for communities, something else for surveys. And then employees are like, where do I go for X and where do I go for Y, right? So it is
Mm.
important to kind of create an integration between solutions. And that's one of the things that AdvantageClub.ai, we are very, very particular about, that we integrate into everything. So if
Mm.
organizations are using Teams, you don't need to come to my platform. I will be there in Teams. So having those right integrations to kind of bring programs in a single place which are being used the most, and reverse, right? If your recognition
Mm.
platform is where people are coming every day to recognize,
Mm.
then all your other announcements and other things should also be there on that platform.
Yeah, absolutely.
It eventually helps drive better adoption. Otherwise, what happens is a lot of these programs, they start with a bang, and then they within 3 months die a very slow, painful death. And everyone was like, we did everything right. Where did it go wrong? Why are people not using? So it just becomes very important to create an end-to-end unified integrated solution. An employee does not care about the app. An employee does not care, okay, where do I go to fill a survey? That survey needs to
Mm.
be the employee. So
Yeah.
they care about the end outcome and what is in it for me. So it's important to create that solution where people are hopping off and hopping on platforms without even realizing it. Second thing,
Yeah.
I think, in terms of adoption, where most programs fail is because there is a lack of personalization. It's a
Yeah.
one size fits all kind of a structure. It starts affecting the redemption because I don't see what I like. So giving good choices and not having poor choices of rewards also eventually helps drive utilization and redemption. Because
Mm.
I think Abbie mentioned probably that there are so many different types of workforces today, and you have the Gen Zs, and what Gen Z wants is probably not what a millennial wants. You have to give choices to people to pick and choose what they want.
Yeah.
And lastly, on the point of usage, I think accessibility also becomes very important. Again,
Mm.
generational difference is not the only difference in our employees today. There is also a difference in the way, say, a blue collar or a non-industry person or a remote or a frontline or a contract or a gig worker works
Mm.
vis-a-vis what a person sitting in an office would be doing. So if you have frontliners, do they have access to the laptops? No. Do they have email
Yeah.
IDs? No. Then how will they actually use these programs? So have you created structures where you have maybe phone number based, OTP based verification logins? Or do you have SSO accessibility for all your employees? Do you have these programs available for your gig economy? Do you have language customization? So all of those things also become important to drive adoption eventually.
Yeah, I think it's all boils down to building that experience for an employee, make it relevant, make it based on what they are asking for, what they need, and then one size fits all approach will never work for you. Communicate as much as you can, help it reach to them in every possible way, and then make the experience very easy to use. Don't make it complicated. I think the more complicated employees see things, they kind of avoid it. They're like, okay, I'll finish my work. Let's see, I'll get to that later. So that's interesting. I think and technology helps you bring that together, right? One interface, putting it together, a unified system, that will really, really help. How are you integrating it into the daily workflow? That's going to be critical. So, Smiti, thank you. Great points, I must say there. Coming to another
Yes,
very
and
important. Yes.
sorry, if I could add also,
Yes, absolutely.
great points from Smitty.
Yeah.
But I also would like to emphasize that leadership advocacy is very important in this topic.
Yes.
Because where it comes to rewards and recognition, whilst us in the people function, in this space, understand how it can bring ROI, for example, or how it could essentially increase productivity, for example. It's important that the leaders show that this is valued and it's cascaded down. Communication, we've
Yeah.
spoken about how communication is, and a communication, it should be always top down. And if you don't have the leadership
Yes.
buy-in, regardless of how much you work hard in trying to engage people and encouraging them, it won't work. So that's
I
very
agree.
critical in this area as well.
I know, I totally agree. They are the champions for this cause. If they don't live this, they don't manifest this on in their daily work and daily lives, people will not get inspired to do that too. So great point, Ivy. Thank you for adding that. So now coming down to a very one of it's a challenge as well. It's something that's very critical when you're trying to build these kind of rewards, recognition, and wellness programs. It's on budgeting and alignment. So this is an open question to our panel. What are some best practices if you could share from your organization for budgeting AI and tech-led recognition and well-being programs so that they not just deliver impact but also align with your overall business objective so that so that it doesn't come across as a cost to the organization. Any thoughts
Mm,
around that? How do you
sure.
budget and align it to business? Romel, please.
Sure. Let me take a stab on that and just
Yeah.
piggybacking to the earlier conversations. No, so the first one really is from a leadership advocacy, right? You kind of
Mm.
need to walk the talk and all that. Secondly is from a participation perspective, just wanted to add also that um in this generation now we have to recognize that they always have this what's in it for me. So I think a little form of rewards and recognition at the initial get-go to increase participation, I think would be very, very helpful. The moment that they realize that it's beneficial for them, there's that natural flow happening, and that on the next round, you don't need this kind of sort of a carrot, right? They will
Yeah.
naturally come in there. Now,
Mm.
going to this question now that you mentioned, there's so many ways to measure ROI, and we've always looked at it both from, as mentioned, a retention perspective and a wellness perspective. So there's
Mm.
are 2 points that we always monitor, given that even in the advent of AI, we are
Mm.
still a people-led organization, a human-led organization.
Yeah.
We will never uh, uh, compromise what only humans can offer, and
Mm.
AI cannot, and that's empathy, right? The moment you um, uh, suddenly become too reliant on AI, you amputate that part of human, and suddenly you lose all those connections. So
Mm.
first is on retention. So I think many of their engagement are being measured based on how much we can retain people.
Mm.
For the simple reason that the lower our attrition rate, the better it is from a business standpoint. Why? Because you have better coverage, you have better revenue operating uh, full-time equivalents.
Mm.
So even if there's a AI there, the AI right now is a coworker. The
Mm.
AI will not function without the main
The
pilot,
human.
yeah,
Yeah.
without that human master that they have
Oh.
to make it and deliver a very good and powerful
Mm.
customer
Mm.
experience. So
Mm.
the better the retention number, the bigger the revenue stream is. So that's
Mm.
why we spend a good amount of our budget in the engagement space,
Oh,
including the monitoring of it and what are those feedback coming so that we can personalize and customize some of the programs.
mm,
Our engagements are no less than four in a month, so almost like weekly. And as I've said, no less than four. So there's a lot of activities happening simply because,
yes,
again, part of the retention is a realization that our employees need to realize that this is their second home. This is not just
yeah,
their work environment. This is a
yeah,
place where they can also express their talents or their other interests.
yeah.
The second one is wellness. Um, and this is something that we're trying to attack now because we are shifting to a preventative perspective. Many of our health management benefits right now covers a number of sickness benefits. However,
Mm,
many does not cover prevention type of benefits, right? Just to give you an example, you have coverage when you have heart surgery, but you do not have coverage when you do need maintenance medicines. So
mm.
that's a very paradoxical way.
I agree.
And when people are not well, then they become less productive, right? So again, when we invest on these things that are preventative in nature, it lowers our utilization. So ROI to us is very straightforward and very pragmatic. And we realize that these are two important things that would easily justify, ROI. And it's not, to your point, it's not, it shouldn't be seen as a cost, but rather an investment that will help drive more business and better
Yeah,
profitability.
yeah. I think the formula I make out of this is if you could link recognition to retention and then retention linking to revenue generation, I think that's the formula that probably works when you can show that to business. They'll see the impact, they'll see the value of why you're investing. Any thoughts from other leaders here?
Yeah,
Abbie, yes, please.
I'd like to add,
Yes.
please. So again, good points from Rommel. I'm
Yeah.
cheerleading. I'm basically cheering for all the panelists here. I'd like to, very good comments, and it's quite
Yeah.
a very good conversation.
Yeah.
What I wanted to say is about the for us being in a service industry, and as in support function, we're always a cost center. So when we're trying to
Mhm.
how shall I say this? We're trying to, let's say, campaign for initiatives such as that for wellness and well-being and all that.
Mm.
We need to drive. We speak, particularly me. I speak. It's being in a service industry. I speak more on the operational efficiency. So whilst I'm not necessarily talking about the ROI in itself, I'm talking about what I'm not spending on. For
Mm.
example, the efficiency of a recruitment platform, for example, right? So
Mm.
there's a lot. It's directly related to your time to fill, for example.
Mm.
It's directly related to quality hires, which
Mm.
if it turn, if you don't, it's very important because if it's a bad hire, it costs what perhaps 100 times more, right? Of the
Yeah.
cost of hiring of recruiting that person. So it's more costly. So um, perhaps as a best practice as well is if you are trying to propose, for example, an initiative like this, then if you're having a difficulty trying to plug it against an ROI or whatever revenue you can get out of it because you're using this platform, talk
Mm.
about service levels and talk about the impact of operational efficiency, in my opinion.
Mhm. That's interesting. Operational efficiency, impact on that, impact on the service levels. Again, I think ROI becomes sometimes when it's intangible things like morale and culture, very difficult to measure ROI. But if you can link it to these kind of numbers and these kind of very tangible results, that really works. Any other thoughts on measuring ROI? That's actually my next question, but I'm merging that to here because how can we effectively assess the ROI of our programs that we are building? And then prove it to the business that this is how the impact is being created. Meenu, please, over to you, and then I'll come to you, Smiti, after that.
Sure. Just to add one more perspective, other than ROI, what we work and focus on is VOI, that is value on investment. Because as you
Mhm.
mentioned, that most of the things we cannot measure, right? It's not
Exactly.
tangible. So when we are dealing with the people or people management, it's very, very important that we are touching upon intangible benefits also.
Mm,
And that's
mm,
how we can always justify, especially when you are in HR profession, that you always have to justify your budgeting or the activities wellness you are spending on, right? So
yeah, yeah.
every time we are not able to justify tangibly that this is
Mm,
the effect, but we can see the value we have created out of those initiatives. Like if
mm,
we are, let's say we are taking team out for the dinner or lunch, or we are going for the hiking together and all, so we see the
mm,
value that has been generated, even if the rewards management using the AI sentiment analysis. So we
mm,
can see how people are feeling happy. You cannot see the result maybe immediately in 2 3 months, but in the long term, you can see the people are more engaged, more connected, and you see that if they are more connected, they can resolve the problem internally. They won't approach, they won't write big emails or all these things. So there is a value we can see that can be curated apart from the ROI. And again, it depends very much from your leaders, how they see it,
yeah.
how they advocate it. And what I can see, if we talk about Hira, that they try to build that culture and environment and give us the right tools, be it AI or no matter what, that people are spending less time on manual tasks and more time that the task can be automated. They are more connected. They are more aware about their health and well-being. They talk about themselves, as I told, in every
Yes.
wherever the interaction is, so that people
Yeah.
take away this message. Yes, they are our role models and they are practicing all these things. Why don't we do that? They start talking
Yes.
about it, search about it. And if we talk about technology, then even if you don't have to pay, there are many free tools available if you want to really use them for yourself. So
Yeah.
they play then with the technology and the knowledge they have received, and then they go. So always, apart from the ROI, we see and we believe that the value, if you can justify that the tools or any initiative you have used, the value you have generated, the connection you have developed,
Absolutely.
it's very important as well.
Thanks, Meenu. I think VOI with ROI is a great combination because the kind if you keep your people happy, they are engaged, they will eventually be more loyal to you, contribute better, be more productive, and that will lead to business success. So that's this. Smiti, your thoughts also. You work with so many organizations across the globe, actually, and this has to be a pertinent challenge, right? Measuring ROI, what metrics do we use? How do you convince leadership? And yes, leadership buy-in is one very important factor, but what else can we do to measure and create that impact and measure the ROI?
Yeah, so just adding on to Meenu's point, we also define ROI as tangible and non-tangible, right? So
Yeah.
tangible is fairly easy to calculate. So what if you're
Hmm.
running recognition, your budget utilization should be at least 95%, then it's a good
True.
program. Your
Hmm.
redemption reward should be at least 90%. Your ESAT scores should be in the north of 90%. ENPS scores could be high. Then other tangible ROI things could be, say, is productivity overall increase? Do you see, if you're running well-being programs, do you see a reduction in absenteeism?
Hmm. Hmm.
If you're running performance-led rewards, or if you're running rewards for, say, your sales teams, and is that really impacting the top line of the organization? So those are pretty much tangible pointers, and obviously you can't have one specific KPI saying that this program has completely changed this KPI, but
Hmm.
it has to be a merge of multiple pointers and multiple KPIs, which you can come back and say that, okay, these things have seen a definite impact in the past 1 year when we launched maybe these two initiatives, and obviously that has become a tangible impact on these. We
Hmm.
also feel that we also do attrition calculation. So what we do is, again, you cannot directly say recognition impacted attrition in a really direct manner, but what we do is we do cohort analysis. So we identify cohorts of
Okay.
people who have been given recognition in an organization vis-a-vis cohorts of people who have never received either a monetary or a non-monetary award. And then we see the attrition difference between both. Then there's usually that question that obviously if somebody's getting awarded, that means they're a high performer, that means they will definitely stay back. But we also see cohorts in terms of peer appreciation. And we've seen that the difference in attrition between monetary awarded cohort vis-a-vis people who have never received a monetary award is 45%. But if you add a non-monetary peer-to-peer appreciation in the mix, the difference in attrition goes as high as 70-75%. So it means that even peer recognition plays a very significant
Important.
impact in
Yeah.
people, being more retained. These are all tangible things. Then we talk
Mm.
about intangible ROIs, where, like Rommel initially mentioned, they have a happiness index and they have
Yeah.
a sentiment analysis. Now, sentiment analysis, does it directly link to retention? Maybe not, but it definitely tells you how happy people are in your organization. It gives you a happiness index. That's an intangible ROI, that my programs are making my people happier in general. Feedback or things like pulse surveys also become a way of intangible ROIs. Exit interviews is another
Yeah.
intangible ROI, where you talk to people during their last day, and usually they're more honest about things when they leave than when they're in the
Yes.
organization. So that's intangible. If you're running peer recognition, how many people are giving, say, thank you cards or kudos cards to one another? That volume is
Mm.
also an intangible ROI. Well-being
Mm.
initiatives, Meenu spoke about it. Participation, how many people are actually participating in it? Adoption. And lastly,
Mm.
I think the best intangible ROI are the stories and the case studies that
Yes.
come from the programs. Like, just to give you an example, like we were running a wellness program for a very large organization, and they had a well-being budget through which you could just buy anything related to well-being. And
Mm.
in 1 year, we had almost 2,000 wheelchairs purchased through that program, where people bought wheelchairs for their elderly parents and grandparents. And that's a beautiful story to
Yeah.
tell internally to your leaders, that this program has helped people make accessibility better for their elderlies. And that's not a tangible ROI, but that's a beautiful story. And I think
Absolutely.
eventually that becomes part of intangible ROIs as well.
Yeah. I think isn't it all about how the sense of belongingness that you feel to your organization, and what is the organization doing in terms of bringing that feeling there? So these are the small instances, the large instances, all put together that actually add to the experience of an employee, and where that encourages her or encourages him to work harder, stay stronger for the organization. I think that's the impact we're looking at. So great points. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yes, I
Coming
mean, I
towards, yes,
sorry,
Abby, please. Yeah.
I just want to add one last thing.
Yeah,
It's the
absolutely.
for me, one of the critical aspect, and Smiti just touched up on it, is the employee advocacy. And I
Yeah.
find that my employer branding has increased significantly, owing to the fact that I have my own employees advocating for my own brand. So they're coming
Yeah.
to the company saying, I have good profiles for you to hire, because they believe in the brand, right? So if the employee
Agree.
is, and these are people as well, we have also employees that have left us and are still loyal to the brand, for whatever reasons they have parted ways with us, but they're still
Yes.
happy to refer their people from their network, because they believe in the experience, the good experience that they have here, in the fair practice and transparency and all that. So I
Yeah.
think that could also be one of your KPIs
Absolutely.
for all of these initiatives.
Yeah. Your brand perception within and outside both speaks a lot about how you're working on your overall strategy of recognizing employees, taking care of their well-being, making them feel at home. I think that's very, very critical. So thanks for sharing that. Coming to the final question before we take some questions from our audience members, and it's about looking ahead. We are in 2020 towards the fag end of 2025 and beyond. What trends or emerging technologies are you thinking will redefine how we recognize, support, and retain our employees? Any particular technology that you think will be a game changer, or any particular trend that you see will be really impactful going forward? So let's start. Let's start with you this time and then take a round again.
Yeah, sure. So I would say, as I think Smiti mentioned somehow, that how different technologies are talking to each other, right? So I
Yes.
don't think we can say that it's only one technique or one technology that can change, or we can see that all the
Mm.
employees, organizations can work upon, but it's a series of or the combination of different tools and techniques. Let's say
Yes.
if you talk about the to tracking the wellness, wearing the wearables, like I'm wearing, right? So there are many people who are tracking their all this thing, the initiatives which leaders can take to encourage people to track your health and wellness, right? And
Mm.
you can also use one point we have been discussing in this webinar, the sentiment analysis. It's very,
Mm.
very important because it's not at a particular moment when you are running the engagement survey, you are getting the happiness index. So we
Mm.
get continuously. And most of the
Mm.
tools, when we are using it through technology, they keep sending you the questions. They keep sending you the reminders. How are you feeling today? And they will
Mhm.
design the questions according to your answers. And
Mm.
the questions are also usually designed based on the number of years of experience, what field, you're male or female, how old are you, what is your
Mm.
experience field. So it's a very beautiful thing which is continuously happening. That is, I think, is a very good game changer in coming years. And of course, the gamification, because it's no more you have to complete this assignment and you will get this thing. No, this is a gamification. People feel nice when they are completing the task, and accordingly, the rewards are being generated. So,
Yeah, you have
rewards
to make it fun.
management, yeah.
Yeah.
So rewards
Yeah.
management, because the feeling when we get, oh, we are going to complete this and we are going to get this. The wheelchair example Smiti said is
Yes.
wonderful
Yeah.
example, right? Because most of the time you do not need things for yourself, but for your family member, for your dear ones, right? So it's very, very important. So these are the trends, sentiment analysis, predictive analysis, and health and wellness initiative, wearable, along with the AI tools, is I think that can be the game changer in
Great.
coming year.
Thanks, Meenu. I think I totally agree with you also. Romel, would you like to add your thoughts on what some future trends or key technologies you're seeing that'll work really well?
I think you know AI in the last 2 years has been like a big word, but right now people are seeing some of the where it is relevant, right? Um, uh, we're carefully watching this space simply because this is very relevant to our business, and
Yeah.
uh, and we know that many organizations that are in specifically purely on the AI service is actually struggling to make an ROI as well on their end. So
Yes.
I feel it's a refinement of the AI adoption, especially now that in the next 5 years, the alphas, the alpha generation will be the new workforce, right? And the
Yeah.
alphas probably a little bit more distinct than the Gen Z and the millennials. They're probably much more visual. They're probably needed more experiential from a learning perspective. And I think this is where like the AI would be really really helpful, simply because they needed something where, if you want to upskill them, I don't think they'll be willing to sit down for long hours
Yeah.
in a room. They need an experiential type of an environment, which AI via a simulated
Agree.
activity, right, would make them more productive. So yeah, I think AI will just continue to transform the way we do things, but it's a refinement, but rather than a an actual replacement of as opposed to the initial thought when it comes to tech. And I feel AI will even help you make your again your engagement much more personalized. I mean, gamification is a word is
Yes.
used, and yes, and I think gamification will be there, but definitely in that next level. And it's something that we need to extend, especially to the new workforce, where recognition is very important to them. Blame it to the environment of social media, where they needed always that validation, that like mentality, right? They need more likes, they
Yeah,
need more thumbs up, and all these things. And so we need to adapt into that in a good way, of course, in a logical way.
absolutely. Great. Thanks. Thanks so much, Rommel. Abby, your thoughts on this, please.
Okay. I guess, look, I'm a big fan of initiatives being driven as an answer to strategic goals, right? So whatever it is that we propose has to make sense, has to be aligned with all of our strategic goals. That's point number one. So therefore, these wellness initiatives should not be a tick box approach. When we look at initiatives like this, it has to be well within, systemic into the system. So, for example, you also consider your DEI policy, right? You're
Yeah.
looking at your employees from the point of not necessarily the personalization is not necessarily only on what they want, but also it
Mm,
looks into where are they in their life right now, right? So
mm,
here in our demographic, for example, are quite young, right? So we start off with fresh graduates, but eventually we have these single people in their 30s that probably, are not necessarily going to, how can I say that are not, they don't have a family of their own, but eventually they're going into their lives. Well, they look after their own parents themselves, perhaps their
yeah.
siblings as well, so there's myriads of personas whenever we're creating to think about whenever we think of these things.
Yeah.
So that seeps into total rewards as well. So you're not necessarily just looking at recognition, but you're also embedding this in your total reward system. So where
Mm,
I see the trend going, so for companies, the big me particularly, and what I experience is that it's difficult because there's no particular tool that can help me
mm,
build on all of these fronts. I'm talking about
mm,
total reward system, and on the well-being front, I believe that with the agentic AI, for example, right now
mm.
is a critical a critical AI disruption that we all love.
Yes.
Thankfully, not yet super intelligent, but we all love it. And
Mhm.
with this, it would enable entities to look at well-being, not just on one front, not just on the
Yeah.
health front, but you're looking at well-being on all aspects. You're looking at potentially splitting mental, you're splitting health, you're splitting social, you're splitting financial, so
Mm,
with the elevation of AI, it augments and it helps sort of get more data in order to help the employees on the overall
mm.
well-being. And I think
Yeah.
this is a trend that is going to, at least the people in the well-being space, will be leveraging, in the near future.
Yeah.
If it unless it's
Yes.
happening now, but it's going to be imminent, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think Smiti can also add on to that because they're already building these technologies around that. So, Smiti, your thoughts on the future of recognition with technology being at the core of it?
Yeah, and I agree to Abbie's point on agentic, and while AI is our present, agentic AI is definitely our future.
Future.
A
Yeah.
lot of time, effort, and money is spent on training managers, on training people to use tools, right? Just to give you an example, Salesforce, if you deploy it on your platform, it takes another company to come deploy it for you, to train your people. It's like a 3-month process. With AI, with agentic, you can get deployment code just created in minutes. You can have,
Mhm.
you don't need to train anybody. Like if
Yeah.
in recognition, the way we've deployed agentic AIs, it's a chat-based mechanism. I'm a manager, I go there, I'm like, hey, give a thank you card or give a good job card to Yasmin. The agent will identify who's Yasmin in my team, send that card. I don't need to learn where to go, which button to press, what to do. It's just we're at a really crux of disruption right now, where learning tools, technologies is all going to be irrelevant, and it's all going to be all about how personalized the program can be, how good of an experience you can give to your employees, and learning tools and platforms is going to be irrelevant in the future. So, which is why
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy about agentic AI in this world, because it will make things as simple as just chatting with somebody on WhatsApp. So, I think that will be the future in it.
I totally agree with you. I think, thank you so much. I think this future is a lot about technology and how humans are using that technology. I think we will not let go of the human part. The meaning, the purpose, and the value in these programs will be created by us humans. But we will use technology to personalize it, to scale it up, to make sure it reaches diverse audience, generation-wise or location-wise, in any which way. I think that's going to be the future of our reward and recognition strategy. Very little time I have in hand, and but we got a lot of questions. But as I was scrolling through them while you were talking, I can see we do have answered a lot of them. Just maybe one or two that I can add on and ask before we wrap up. One is about what if you've done all that we've discussed today? And Forum Gandhi is asking that, yet there is still less engagement. What are we missing, or what can be done quickly if somebody would like to answer that? That you've done the technology, you've done the leadership advocacy, the employee advocacy. What is it that maybe they're missing out on if they still feel there's less engagement?
I'd like to take up on this if that's all right
Yes,
with
Abbie.
you. So
Absolutely, Abbie.
if you employ, for example, the old school of thought of change management, right? So
Mm,
typically adoption, you always have people that are scared
mm,
because they don't know, right? So
mm,
I think, and a lot of transformation programs end up going into the bin because you have all of these, you have the people that don't believe in what you're doing, kind of how can I say that they sort of influence the other people in your how shall I say this, in your organization too. So
mm.
it's very important for someone who's rolling out these initiatives to identify who may be non-believers of this initiative, and welcome them in your team and see
Mm,
from their perspective, how do they think can this be better and be adopted, right? So I
mm.
forgot what the name of these people are, but they so that's I believe that's one thing, and a lot of awareness as well is required
Correct.
surrounding the initiatives. Literacy is very important.
Yes.
Not just rolling out, we roll out initiatives, people don't understand why we're doing it, or
Mm,
how it will impact them. It's all going to be difficult to deploy. So there should be a lot of awareness surrounding that. And again, when I say top down, top down
top
communication,
down.
that means that you, for example, if you're in HR and you're trying to roll out an initiative, it's not just
Mm,
you rolling it out. You need to have
mm.
you need to be campaigning for the leaders, across the board, for them to campaign for their people too, and of course, get their thoughts eventually. And
Yeah.
last but not the least is constantly ask for feedback about the initiative. What is the temperature check on that? Where are you? What is it?
Yes.
Is it still working? Because you might, if it's eating money, you might as well kill it and
Yeah.
pivot to something else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I do get you. Thank you so much. Final question, Smiti. Maybe you could answer this a little bit around uh, ethical considerations while using AI for recognition and rewards. I think that's also critical. A lot of people want to know that because you're using it for mental well-being. You're using it for so many things. So, what should leaders keep in mind? Just quickly before we wrap up here.
Sure. There are two or three pointers which we need to look at. One, if you're using it for well-being, for example, are you taking sensitive data and sharing it with your leaders? That is something you
Mm,
have to take care of. So for any wellness initiative, unless there is a clear consent taken by the employee, that information
mm,
around their physical, mental, financial well-being, details tagged to a specific employee should not be shared in any report, in any dashboard with anyone, even if it's the
yes.
administrator of that platform. Second, in terms of generalized conversations which are happening with any AI bot, that information is also, it needs to be very specific around what data can be really shared and what cannot be. And in terms of data privacy as well, of course, every country has their own data
Yes.
today, including, many new laws introduced in India as well. But it's important to, one, have solutions who are using AI and keeping the data internally and not sharing with third parties. Like, for example, if you are using, say, a non-paid version of ChatGPT in your organization, that information is obviously being
Mm.
shared with GPT for improving their own AI models, but it's not within your organization. So
Yep.
keeping that in mind while deploying solutions is also important, that who is this data being shared with? Is it encrypted? Is it violating any privacy policies of that particular country? And also, on personalized data, what data is visible to whom becomes really important. And taking consent is very, very important before.
Very important. Great, thanks. Great points. I think we have kind of overshot time, but I would really, really like to thank each one of you. And I believe that when it comes to having the best rewards, recognition, our well-being programs or initiatives, it's all about co-creating. It's about understanding what your employees need and then creating it with them, having your leadership be a part of it. So if we co-create those programs and use technology to enhance its impact and make it reach far and wide, that will be the right formula and will help us make it work, help our employees feel more engaged with the organization, and eventually impact business also. So on that note, I'd really like to, on behalf of ETHR World, I would like to sincerely thank our panel, Rommel, Abbie, Meenu, Smiti, for sharing such rich insights. And of course, a big thank you to all of you, our audience members, for joining us and engaging in this important dialogue. We hope we leave you today with some actionable ideas to reimagine recognition and well-being in your organizations. And once again, a thank you to AdvantageClub.ai also for partnering with us for this really important conversation. So once again, thank you, leaders. Thank you for joining us. Wishing you all a wonderful day ahead.